Welcome to the best small business podcast, where you get powerful insights, breakthrough ideas, and simple solutions to make your business unbelievably successful. I'm Rich G.
And I'm BJ Flagg, and this is episode 155, Futurecast. What we see over the next 6 to 12 months. Yes, we're going into the future, Rich.
We're in the future, in Futurecast. That's our.
We're going to be doing, guys. Come with us.
Come with us into the future. So, chef of the future. There are only three possibilities for your business in the next 6 to 12 months. What are they, BJ?
These sound familiar.
Yes.
Episode 154. But it will be the same. Okay, that's one of my future casts. Yep. And it could be worse. Could be worse. Or it could be better. It will be better. Yeah. Those are my future casts.
So which one are you going to focus in on? If you think here's the one that BJ and I are absolutely saying it ain't going to be the same. It's not.
Right. Right.
It's not. Every business out there that thinks we're going back to the way it was is not happening. It just isn't. Some things will.
Yeah. Oh, sure. But, you have to be ready for the fact there's a lot of us that have started to go back to offices, and we're starting that transition in our head and in our physical day. We already know it's not going to be the same.
No.
Yeah. So I think for everybody, this is now the stage that we're going through.
Yeah. There's a rule I'm going to be talking about in tip 3 that I think really comes to the crux of why we think it isn't going to be the same. It's all according to customers and how, and your clients and how they interact and use your services. So let's just jump right in. Tip number 1. Awesome. What is not going to go back to the way it was? What are some of the things that are not going to go back to the way it was? One of them, I think, is massive use of tech to communicate. We already are using tech to communicate, but COVID really forced us to use more tech than we ever have before. The word is forced.
Yeah. Yeah. It was literally in one day you had to use it. That was how it got to, and it made the people who were hanger-oners who weren't accepting it realize within a week that they had to do it. So it was a massive change. I read in the journal that Zoom went up 365% was their sales for Q2. And people are there. But the other thing is old management behaviors of work are quickly disappearing. There is none of that going on.
I've had clients that before COVID were totally against work at home. And now they're like 180 degrees, 100% for working at home, to the point where they're buying monitors and everything for people to plug into when they go home. So
I know. And, and when you think about it, there's going to be such a larger focus on productivity versus the proximity. You've thrown that out the window. So now you're going to use a vendor that may not necessarily be hyper local for you, but is the correct vendor to use. But on the other side of that, you're going to also be looking to vendors who you've used forever and say, how have you changed?
Yeah. I mean, it goes to like conferences and travel for business presentations.
Oh, yeah.
That's radically changed. If you want to learn more about how we feel about conferences, go back to podcast 147 on what will they look like in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people, and I could be wrong, ever came back from conferences and went, wow, that was incredible. They're like, oh, it's a pain in the ass, to do all this stuff. But people are going to be focusing on productivity rather than proximity.
Yeah. And I think the automation of services, I think that, the customer, does even less in the conversion path to, making that sale. And you will do less. You will do it a new way.
Yeah, ordering and delivering, streamlining all your systems. You have to be, I call it Amazon time. You have to be on Amazon time. If you're not on Amazon time, people are going to get frustrated that you're not on Amazon time, that you have to turn things around. If they order it, it should be in their hands within a day or two. And ordering and delivering just on the site, restaurants, everything. You have to look at things totally different.
And, the biggest thing that I have felt is cash is really going away. Cash is really going away. I literally, from the time in March to now, I have only gotten money, $40 out of the bank, and that I still haven't used it. Haven't used it. We're going contactless.
Yeah. Okay. If I get change, I go, no, it's okay. You keep it. I don't care. I just don't want the change. And all businesses, you must have Apple and Google Pay. Okay. Yeah. For you guys, for you businesses out there that go, oh, we don't have that. And I have to take my card out and stick it in and wait and do the whole thing. Get with it's 2020. Just tell your credit card provider, I want Apple Pay and Google Pay. I want that as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's a huge one. Yeah. So tip number 2, what changes have impacted your business, for the good and the bad? What are those changes? I think we're seeing everyone has been hit by the anxiety bug. And so it's not just the owner of the company, it's everybody in the company. And then it's your customers. It's affecting their spending and purchasing behaviors. So that's like, that happened early on. It's still with us. Yeah. I hate to say it, but in 6 months, it's probably not going to be gone. There's going to be a seismic change that occurred because of this. You got to think that way.
In 12 months, it's still going to be around. It's not like flicking a light switch, like, oh, we can hug and shake and kiss and everything. No, it's going to be weird for at least the next 6 to 12 months. Let's say they have a vaccine tomorrow. It's still going to be weird. So,
yeah. And, when you think about it, it's not like COVID is going to go away. It's going to go away slowly. And there are going to be a lot of people who don't want to get a vaccine. So there'll be hotspots. And things will happen. But, it's going to happen. It's just going to go slower than I think all of us have imagined, right?
Yeah, not to use it. I want to use an analogy. A major thing that happened to the U.S. was 9/11. And there were huge amounts of people that for months and possibly years did not fly. They did not want to fly. They did not want to, let's go.
They were not getting in that plane.
They weren't getting in that plane. And I go, the same thing's going to happen with COVID. It's people are going to not want to do things. So take a list of what you really haven't needed in the 6 months and shed those things. Start looking at what are those things that you really haven't been using and get rid of them, because odds are those things aren't going to be needed in the future. What are some of those things that we're thinking of, BJ?
It could be everything from, a printer that you had at the office that you thought was vital. And it turns out, no, all your vendors stepped up. They got everything done for you. Were there for you throughout COVID. What are you doing holding on to that when all your skills will still be used, which is awesome. That's a great thing to kind of know. But it's also a time to, this is the time to just become more agile. In everything that you're doing, be more agile. And that could be the ability to pivot, or it could be the ability to answer a need of a client in a much more rapid way.
Yeah. And what'll happen is if you start to, and this ties into, let me jump into tip 3, which is which areas are probably going to stick around? What new changes are going to stick around? And this is the part that I said at the start that you really need to focus in on. Yes. Things that make it easier or cheaper for your customer. Areas have impacted them in a positive way. Okay, so not you, easier and cheaper for you, easier and cheaper for your client or customer. Those things are going to stick.
Yeah. I mean, take a look at drive up liquor stores. Rich, you had a great story about your liquor store.
Yeah, it's just, I love it that if I'm going in to get a bottle of wine or something like that, I know the wine I want. On the way to the liquor store, I could get on my phone, call them and say, hey, I'd like to order a half case of this wine. They go, we'll have it ready for you. And they come out, they get my credit card. They come back with it, with the case of wine ready to go. I didn't have to get out of my car. Not that I'm lazy, but it made life so much easier,
Oh, for sure. And, look at things like, the 2-day ability to get everything out there, everything from Amazon, but like Home Depot, right, Rich?
Yeah, Home Depot's spending this year over $1 billion on transforming their ordering online, where you could order a tool online and it could be sent to your home or in 2 days or less, or you could order it online and it's in a locker right where the carriages are. And you go up to the locker, type in a 4-digit number and you grab it. It's already paid for. You don't have to walk into the store, or they deliver it right to your car. You order it and you tell them I'm here and they bring it to your car. So they recognize that having less people in the store causes less cleanup, less everything. Buy a tool.
Safer for their employees. There's just so many reasons, right?
And then there's saving stash for you and your business. That's a huge one that a lot of businesses were caught off guard. Like, oh my God, how am I going to pay my people? I've seen restaurants and stores just close.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be focused on having a buffer, a savings buffer now, not only personally, like a 6-month buffer personally, but maybe a 3 to 6 month buffer professionally. And are you in that business? Are you a bank? Are you a financial advisor? Are you a creditor? How can you help people do this? There's a huge opportunity there.
Oh, yeah. And it's just building a budget. It's getting yourself into the right mindset that, don't spend it all. Put some away. It's got to happen. But look at it also for things like, food and supplies stash for you and your business, right? A lot of people were caught really unawares. If we can remember at the very beginning, all the toilet paper and paper towel and all that kind of stuff that people couldn't get, be able to have at their fingertips. But, there's things even that your business needs. That's one thing we're still seeing right now, where there are these hiccups in the supply chain.
Yeah.
And that's still happening. And you need to be aware that if your widget needs these products, you've got to be a little ahead of yourself.
And this leads into you need a closer and better relationship with your vendor. See, a lot of people treat their vendor like, it's just a gumball machine. Put the money in, turn that knob, and the gumball comes out. It's like, no, people that had good relationships with their vendors, positive financial ones, they didn't know the money and they were always nice to them. The vendors came through for them first. And everybody else was like, so they'll come through for you. So
yeah, we had gotten a call from one of our major print vendors, and in March, right before everything, and he goes, "Okay, we're going to be going into a type of shutdown, but we're going to create a pod at our office, and we're going to keep the machines rolling. What can we do for you? Think about it. You're a preferred vendor. What are we going to do?" And I'm telling you, that was the biggest comfort that we ever had. We gave almost all the work to that group. Yeah. And they were phenomenal and careful, so careful. I mean, I never felt more comfortable.
It's big. It's big. I remember in the 70s with the gas shortage. If you remember, everybody remembers the gas shortage. My dad always bought his gas from this Getty gas station in Stamford, and from the Ferraris. He always went there. What was interesting was he developed a relationship. He would get out of the car and talk with them all the time. When there was a gas shortage, next time my dad had to wait in line behind like 50 other cars, the minute he got up there, Mr. Ferrari said, "Look, I open at 6 a.m., but nobody knows that. So please, I'm going to have all the lights off and stuff, but we will be here for our customers. Come at 6 a.m. and we'll give you gas." And that was like, because he was preferred customer. So that's what you have to do. So what's tip number 4, BJ?
How do you modify your business, people, and financials for the change? One of the first rules is if you don't change, you will be left behind by your competition. So you have got to change. It's inevitable. I mentioned earlier in the very top part, not everybody's gone back yet. Not just a few people have started to get back to offices and things. You're going to notice a gigantic change, and you need to be prepared for that in your business. So you're going to feel it and get ready.
Yeah. And you don't want to be left behind by the competition. Suddenly the competition is doing something totally different, and all the customers are going to flock. If it's easier or cheaper, they're going to use the competition.
Oh, yeah. And as I mentioned in tip 2, you want to make your modifications now as we're coming out of it, so that you can have as much control. We don't have any control. We all know that. But you can have your most control over any additional pivots that you're going to have to make. You're going to have to make them. So, you got to be ready.
And keep notes on all the things you wish you had done. Things where you're like, I totally forgot about that. What you did do for the next crisis, and there will be one. There will be another crisis that will happen, something that will happen. This is the beginning of your next crisis plan.
Yeah, and you'll be so glad you did it, because there will be a lot of stuff that you're going to have forgotten that you took care of, and things that you want to make sure are in the plan for the next one. So it's all good. It's going to be all good. In our next, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be coming back to the future. Get it?
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about where the rubber meets the road. Where are we making changes? And how, what do they look like? So stay with us on that one.
How you can make your own crisis plan. This podcast was talking all about our beliefs of where we're going. Now we're going to teach you, the next podcast, how to actually build your own plan moving forward.
Yeah.
So our resource this week is a book called Frictionless: Why the Future of Everything Will Be Fast, Fluid, and Made for You, by Christiane Lemieux and Duff McDonald.
Oh, I'm telling you, it is amazing, this book. They talk about visionary startups who leverage the concept of frictionless to beat out their competitors. And you know how we always say there's like little nuggets in a book? This book you're going to want to read, like start to finish. Definitely.
I love their term frictionless because what it means is easier and cheaper. And the more frictionless you can be to beat your competitors. And it provides readers with an education to thrive in the world of frictionless commerce, like Apple Pay and Google Pay. It's made possible by new technologies, a new mindset, and new demands from consumers. And that's the key part, demands from consumers.
Yeah, and really think of it as a handbook, because this book, tapped like Instapot and Bobos and Hims and HelloTop. They really looked at a lot of startups too, and what's working for them. They kind of put it all in the one book. It's a great read. Definitely. Well, that's it for today. Hit the subscribe button down below to ensure that you never miss an episode. If you've liked this podcast, feel free to share it with all your friends. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Click the thumbs up button, because the more time you click, the more time people will see and hear our weekly podcasts.
And we want to thank all of our core business partners who have helped us hit 155 podcasts. And by the way, next podcast is our 3-year anniversary. We've never missed a week. So BJ and I are really excited about that.
Totally.
And totally our producer and editor, Richard Scalzo, the man who makes everything happen. And speak to you soon and have an unbelievable week.
Catch you later.